Whispers echo in the cavernous halls of time. Dust hangs heavy in the air, stirred by unseen hands. A faint, otherworldly glow illuminates ancient symbols carved into stone, so worn by the centuries that their meaning teeters on the edge of oblivion. Somewhere, far from the comfort of our modern world, forbidden truths lie buried, secrets dismissed by scholars, hidden from the public, or lost in the shadows of history itself. Tonight, we will drift together into these unsolved ancient mysteries. Mysteries that hint at forces and events far beyond our understanding. As sleep draws near, allow your mind to wander where few dare tread. What if the past is not as settled as we believe? The desert stretches endlessly, an ocean of ochre sand under a vault of indigo sky. As twilight descends, shadows lengthen and merge, consuming the horizon in a quiet, hungry embrace. The air grows cooler, still, and heavy, almost alive. Somewhere deep within this forgotten landscape, an ancient structure rises, a monolith of impossibly black stone, standing alone in the middle of an uncharted valley known only to whispers. They call it the Obelisk of Archaeos. By day, the obelisk blends into the desert's timeless palette, a dark, silent sentinel swallowed by the burning sands. But when night falls, a strange phenomenon begins. A faint hum, barely perceptible at first, stirs the air around it. The sound pulses rhythmically, almost like a breath, slow, deliberate, and unmistakably unnatural. It reverberates faintly in the ears of those who dare approach, as though the stone itself were alive, whispering secrets meant to be forgotten. Stories about the obelisk are as old as the sands themselves. Few have dared to speak of it openly. Local nomads avoid the valley altogether, their eyes clouded with superstition. Ancient maps omit its presence. Modern satellite imagery only shows shifting dunes, as if the obelisk resists being seen. Explorers who've ventured close tell of disturbing experiences. The first approach always begins with silence, a profound stillness where sound seems to vanish. Then, without warning, the whispers begin. No one understands the language. It is neither Arabic nor an ancient dialect known to scholars. The syllables slither through the air, twisted and foreign. Some describe them as guttural, others as melodic. All agree on one thing. The voice seems aware of their presence, as if it reacts to their thoughts, or their fear. One particularly haunting account belongs to Victor E. Harrow, an early 20th century explorer whose name remains etched in the annals of forgotten expeditions. In his tattered journal, uncovered decades after his mysterious disappearance, Harrow wrote, "The closer we approached, the louder the whispers became. Words beyond comprehension, not spoken, but felt. Each step toward the obelisk was as if the desert itself resisted our passage, yet we were compelled, drawn, like moths to an unseen flame. I can no longer say if we were seeking the truth, or if the truth sought us." What happened to Harrow and his team remains unsolved. Their footprints vanish near the obelisk, swallowed by shifting sands, as if they never existed. More recent expeditions have tried to record the whispers, hoping to capture them for analysis. Audio devices pick up faint, indecipherable murmurs, interspersed with an eerie silence that seems almost deliberate, as if the obelisk itself controls what is heard and what is not. One archaeologist, Dr. Elena Voss, once documented a strange phenomenon during a nocturnal survey. When the whispers reached a crescendo, nearby instruments malfunctioned. Her field notes described the event. Compasses spun wildly, radio signals distorted into strange patterns. Time itself seemed to stagger, as if the obelisk bent reality, not merely space. We withdrew before dawn, the whispers fading like a dream dissolving in morning light. No physical damage was found around the obelisk. No tracks, no footprints. Yet Dr. Voss believed the obelisk was more than stone, possibly a sentient relic. Could the obelisk of Archaeanos be the last remnant of a civilization erased from history? A monolithic archive of knowledge sealed in stone, impervious to time, or something far stranger? Perhaps a living consciousness, eternally bound to whisper secrets beyond human comprehension. Some speculate the obelisk is a sentinel, left by an ancient race to guard knowledge too dangerous to reveal. Others argue it is a byproduct of forgotten technology, an alien artifact constructed eons ago when Earth's past was still young, but no one knows for sure. What is known is the sensation of unease that lingers long after the whispers cease. As the first light of dawn filters softly across the desert, the hum retreats. The whispers grow faint and then vanish completely, swallowed by silence once more. The obelisk stands still, bathed in the gentle glow of morning, perfectly indifferent, impenetrable. Yet, deep within the mind of any who heard its voice, a single, nagging question remains. What did it say? Was it a warning, a lament, or perhaps an invitation? The desert holds its breath, keeping the answer hidden for another sleepless night. The air is thick with the scent of dust and ancient stone. Faded sunbeams filter through cracks in the crumbling walls, casting long shadows that twist and waver like memories reluctant to fade. The ruins of Viridia lie half-buried beneath centuries of neglect, an ancient city long vanished from maps, erased from records as though it never existed. At its heart, hidden beneath layers of earth and ruin, rests a mystery unlike any other. An artifact, mechanical, precise, and impossibly alive. The Eternity Clock. The clock sits in its subterranean chamber, half exposed to the dim glow of electric lanterns brought by modern archaeologists. Its surface gleams faintly in the low light, a network of intricately interlocked gears and cogs, forged from a metal unknown to contemporary science. Even more peculiar, it ticks, a steady, measured rhythm that persists without connection to power, spring, or human intervention. The sound is hypnotic. Each tick echoes softly in the stillness, like a heartbeat from another age. What keeps it moving? How can such a mechanism operate without energy? No one has definitively explained it. The first discovery was made in 1894, when a small group of explorers stumbled upon Viridia's ruins during an expedition in the dense forests of Eastern Europe. Local folklore spoke of a forgotten city swallowed by time, and the team's lead archaeologist, Professor Henrik Voros, recounted in his diary, "Our lamps revealed not only ancient dwellings and fractured temples, but a vast chamber hidden beneath layers of rubble. And there, at its center, stood the clock. It was neither bronze nor iron as we knew them, but something altogether otherworldly. The device ticked without reason, yet never ceased. Since that moment, the Eternity Clock became an object of obsession and controversy. Scholars, skeptics, and the curious all came seeking answers, only to leave more confused than before. The academic debate over the Eternity Clock has been fierce. Some argue it is nothing more than a clever hoax, a fabrication designed to lure attention, perhaps by a clever artisan seeking fame. After all, mechanical clocks did exist in some form as early as the 13th century, and human ingenuity has never been lacking. Others speak in hushed tones of divine origins. Ancient texts, long dismissed as allegorical, describe a timepiece forged by the gods themselves, one that counts not merely hours, but ages. Dr. Alessandra Marani, a leading historian specializing in ancient technology, visited the site in 2007. She recorded in her notes, "Attempts to dismantle the mechanism proved futile. The gears are seamless, seemingly crafted in a single piece. Attempts to power it artificially result in the hands moving out of sync. Electromagnetic interference is undetectable. The clock operates as though it were alive." Yet skeptics point to the absence of corroborating evidence. No workshop, no tools, no record of its construction. How did an ancient civilization achieve such precision in metalworking, with no precedent in the archaeological record? As if the clock itself mocks their questions. The most perplexing detail came not from the clock itself, but from what it measured. Dr. Marani's team meticulously recorded the clock's movements over a period of several months. The result was astounding. Rather than marking time in hours, minutes, or seconds, the clock appeared to track astronomical alignments. The positions of its hands correlated not with our Gregorian calendar, but with celestial events, some of them dating back over 10,000 years. Ancient solar eclipses, rare planetary conjunctions, the alignment of distant stars now obscured by millennia of cosmic drift. Dr. Marani writes, "We mapped the clock's progression against known astronomical events and found an uncanny accuracy. Dates of ancient cataclysms, the births of early civilizations, and even recorded meteor showers match the clock's positions to within minutes of precision. This suggests not mere timekeeping, but something far more profound. What was the original purpose of the clock? Could it have been designed to measure history itself, or to manipulate it?" An unsettling possibility whispers through the halls of academia. What if the clock does not merely count the passage of time, but tracks its folding or rewinding? Some speculate the clock is a temporal anchor, a device created by a civilization advanced enough to record the past as though it were a living entity, perhaps even altering it. Others suggest a darker theory. The clock does not measure time at all, but holds it captive. If the clock were merely an artifact, it would be remarkable, but hardly inexplicable. Yet the deeper implication lies elsewhere. Could the eternity clock be the last vestige of a civilization that sought to transcend time itself? The people of Viridia left no written records of their own. Their temples are barren of inscriptions. The walls of their homes are etched only with geometric patterns, as though written in a language not meant to be read by human eyes. Some theorists have posited that Viridia was never meant to thrive. It was constructed as a living monument, a deliberate experiment in temporal engineering. Dr. Marani, more cautious in her later writings, remarked, "We must consider the possibility that Viridia's inhabitants were not merely builders or farmers, but something far older, keepers of time itself." The clock ticks on, a perpetual reminder that time may not flow in a straight line as we believe, but rather loops, twists, and pulses like a living heartbeat, a rhythm of existence itself. Could the mechanism still be adjusting reality, imperceptibly nudging the present toward a preordained design? Or does it merely reflect history's immutable march? As dawn's first light creeps over the horizon, the chamber of the eternity clock grows cold and silent. The ticking slows, then fades into near nothingness, leaving only the faintest echo, as if the mechanism holds its breath until the world demands its secrets again. The air settles, heavy with the unresolved tension of an ancient enigma. Outside, the ruins of Viridia lie quiet once more, half swallowed by earth and time. But deep in the subconscious of those who have heard the clock's measured pulse, a singular, haunting thought lingers. Is time counting us? Or are we counting time? The answer is neither clear nor dismissible. It waits, forever ticking. The wind howled like an ancient lament, carving its mournful song through the craggy peaks of the Akal Mountains. The sky was heavy, swollen with shadow, as though preparing to swallow the land whole. On rare occasions, when the moon eclipsed the sun, a subtle shift would ripple through the mountain air, a tremor imperceptible to all but those attuned to the world's quietest frequencies. It was during such eclipses that the phantom library revealed itself. Concealed for untold centuries, the library appears only for brief, fleeting moments. No one knows precisely how long it lasts, a handful of minutes, perhaps hours, before vanishing into the impenetrable rock from which it seems to emerge. Legends told by the villagers in the surrounding valleys speak of the library in hushed tones, describing it as neither fully real nor entirely imagined. To many, it is a myth, a story told to frighten children into obedience. But to a rare few, the library is a maddening reality. The first documented account comes from Sergei Malenkov, an early 20th century mountaineer and explorer whose name vanished from history after his last expedition in 1921. His journal, discovered decades later in an abandoned monastery, begins simply. During the eclipse, the earth trembled. A door appeared in the mountainside, framed by shadow and light. I stepped through, drawn by a force I cannot name. The structure that unfolds inside is unlike any conventional library. Rather than neatly arranged rows of bookshelves and cataloged tomes, the phantom library of Achalteke is a labyrinth of infinite hallways, their architecture shifting subtly as one progresses. The walls seem impossibly ancient, made of black stone etched with incomprehensible glyphs that seem to glow faintly in the dim light. The air is cool, thick with the faint scent of aged paper and something indefinably metallic. A soft illumination emanates from no visible source, bathing the corridors in an ethereal glow. The quiet is profound, but never complete. A faint murmur, like distant voices, pervades the atmosphere, as though the library itself breathes. Those who have returned from within speak in riddles. Dr. Isolde Renner, a historian and one of the few modern researchers brave enough to attempt a thorough investigation, wrote in her field notes, "I crossed the threshold as the eclipse darkened the sky. The sensation of walking was odd, as if the air itself shifted around my body, becoming dense and at times impossibly light. The shelves extended into infinity, and yet seemed to fold in on themselves, as though space were alive. The books were bound in materials I could not recognize, some shimmering like liquid glass, others so ancient the pages seemed made of stone. But when Dr. Renner and her team attempted to retrace their steps and exit the library, the corridors twisted unpredictably. The same hallway they had entered through would vanish, replaced by walls of solid darkness. Panic gripped the explorers, but retreat proved impossible. Only by sheer instinct, or perhaps a pull from the library itself, did they eventually emerge as the eclipse waned. What disturbed Dr. Renner most was what she found in one particular manuscript. Hidden within a tome whose cover seemed woven from light and shadow, she discovered an ancient passage written in a language that seemed to shift upon every glance, as if the words rearranged themselves, resisting capture. Yet one sentence remained clear, haunting in its simplicity. Here thought becomes matter, and matter thought. She transcribed the line in trembling ink. What did it mean? Was the library a physical structure at all? Or was it a place where consciousness and reality intertwined so deeply that they became indistinguishable? Some theories suggest the library is not a place of learning, but a repository of forgotten dreams, a collective hallucination induced by some ancient force, a phenomenon of group psychosis triggered by the unique alignment of the eclipse, mountain magnetism, and forgotten incantations woven into the stone itself. Others argue something far darker, that the library is alive, and its purpose is not to preserve knowledge, but to consume it. Every book, every scroll, every whisper recorded within its endless corridors may be an echo of lost souls trapped between thought and form. Several witnesses claim they experienced fleeting recollections of lives they had never lived. A local shepherd, Mikhail Petrov, once spoke to a reporter in 1987 after a personal encounter. When I walked inside, I felt memories not my own, images of ancient cities, battles I never fought, faces I never met. It was as though the library reached inside me, planting thoughts I could not explain. Strangers who met Mikhail in later years noted a profound change in his demeanor, a distant gaze, as though part of his consciousness remained within those shifting halls. The most unsettling account came from Anya Kovalev, a young anthropologist who vanished without a trace after her own expedition in 2011. Her final recorded message, sent by radio just before the eclipse's end, remains chilling in its simplicity. I can see them now. The books are watching. The walls breathe. They speak. I cannot leave. I am part of them now. When the signal cut out, search teams found nothing but footprints that faded into dust as though erased by time itself. Yet despite every failed attempt to map the library, strange phenomena continue to occur in the region. Instruments placed at the site register fluctuating electromagnetic fields, untraceable to any natural source. Time seems to bend. Chronometers drift out of sync, and compasses spin without pattern. Some scholars, like Dr. Marani, who once studied the eternity clock of Viridia, have proposed that the Phantom Library is not tied to our linear understanding of reality. Instead, it could be a place where the fabric of time becomes elastic, where memories are as tangible as ink on a page, and forgotten thoughts take on physical form. Perhaps the eclipses are not merely cosmic events, but key moments in an ancient ritual designed to open the boundary between reality and something far older. When the eclipse fades, the library vanishes as if it were never there. No footprint remains, no evidence of passage, only the faintest residue of memory, like a half-remembered dream slipping from consciousness. For those who claim to have entered, the question remains: did they ever truly leave? Or are they still wandering its endless, shifting corridors, trapped between thought and matter, forever chasing a knowledge that dissolves the moment it is grasped? The mountains stand silent now, shrouded in the cool light of dawn, their ancient secrets held close. And in the distance, the memory of a whisper lingers. The jungle of Leloria breathes in silence, dense and impenetrable, as though it has grown not over time, but around secrets it refuses to reveal. Thick vines drape over towering trees, their leaves whispering faintly in the humid air, a chorus of life intertwined with decay. Sunlight, fractured by dense canopies, barely touches the forest floor, leaving the undergrowth in perpetual twilight. Deep within this verdant wilderness lies an ancient structure so perfectly out of place, it seems less the result of time and more a deliberate anomaly. An array of immaculate, polished stone slabs, arranged in precise geometric patterns, stretches across a clearing. Their surfaces are black as obsidian, impossibly smooth, and reflect the faint light of the stars above with crystalline clarity. Scholars call them the celestial mirrors of Leloria, though no one knows who built them or why. On the rarest of nights, when the heavens align just so, the mirrors shimmer as though imbued with life. The stars themselves seem to tremble in response, their light bending and folding across the surfaces of the stones, creating an intricate web of illumination, a cosmic dance frozen in time. The first explorers to document the mirrors spoke of their inexplicable arrangement. Unlike astronomical observatories of known civilizations, the mirrors are neither aligned to cardinal points nor to known celestial cycles. Instead, they form concentric circles, stretching over a field several hectares wide, meticulously placed as if in accordance with an ancient, lost formula. At first glance, they seem to serve as a grand observatory, perhaps a primitive tool to map the stars. But the deeper mystery lies in what they show. Dr. Elian Cho, an astronomer specializing in archaeoastronomy, spent years studying the mirrors. His initial hypothesis was simple: that the celestial mirrors functioned as a massive star chart, a means of tracking cosmic events for ritual or agricultural purposes, but the data didn't align. No constellation matched the patterns. No seasonal cycle explained the positioning. The mirrors did not correspond to the night sky of any known era, past or present. At some points, their alignment seemed to anticipate celestial configurations that wouldn't occur for thousands of years. Moreover, during her fieldwork, Dr. Cho recorded something even stranger. On the cusp of dawn, as the first pale light brushed the horizon, the mirrors began to display faint images, visions that appeared neither as reflections of the present nor as projections of the future. Instead, the surfaces rippled subtly, as though breathing, before revealing scenes from a distant past. Locals speak of the mirrors in reverent fear, calling them the eyes of the ancients. One village elder, Mara Callian, described the event in fragmented whispers. When the first light of morning caresses the stones, we see them, faces of those long gone, cities drowned in time, Wars forgotten by man but remembered by the stones. The mirrors do not lie, but neither do they tell the whole truth. Dr. Cho's own journal records the experience in chilling detail. The first morning I observed the phenomenon, I watched the surface of a mirror as it slowly blurred, shifting from reflection to vision. I saw a sprawling city, a metropolis of impossible design, buildings that defied geometry, and streets that twisted into infinity. People moved like shadows, their faces obscured, their lives unwritten. The images lasted only moments before fading as though erased by an unseen hand. More unnerving still, these visions did not repeat. Each dawn offered new scenes, an ancient ceremony by masked figures, a great conflagration engulfing a palace, a silent procession beneath a blood-red sky. Was this a record of true history, captured and embedded into the stone itself? Or was it some elaborate trick of the mind, induced by the unique light of dawn and the dense atmosphere of the jungle? Researchers debated endlessly. Some argued the mirrors were a massive prehistoric form of data storage, a technology far beyond anything else from that era, designed to preserve collective memory. Others dismissed the visions as hallucinations, the byproduct of exhaustion, isolation, or the intense magnetic fields that registered irregularities at the site. But Dr. Cho knew better. Something ancient lingered in the stones, as if the mirrors themselves remembered. What if the mirrors were never intended to show the stars at all? What if their true purpose was far more intimate, a way of preserving memory itself? An unpublished manuscript, believed to have been discovered during a clandestine expedition in the early 19th century, spoke of the mirrors as places where thought becomes matter. Its author, an anonymous scholar known only as the Keeper of Ajalteque, described the mirrors in poetic but cryptic terms. They reflect not what is, nor what will be, but what once was, and perhaps what ought to have been. Each surface a silent witness, bound eternally to the echoes of thought. Here, the past converges with the present, and the present trembles under the weight of remembrance. Some theorists proposed that the mirrors were part of a grand ritual designed to capture collective memories during pivotal moments in history, an ancient attempt to record not just events, but the emotional essence of existence. One of Dr. Cho's most unsettling discoveries came when comparing the visions in different mirrors. The scenes rarely overlapped. Each mirror displayed a unique narrative thread, as though every surface held a separate, parallel memory. The implication was staggering. The mirrors were not passive objects, but active participants in the recording of history. Were they a forgotten technology, a form of sentient memory, or simply a relic left by a civilization that understood time and thought in a way that remains beyond comprehension? When the jungle awakens with the first rays of sunlight, the visions fade as if they were never there at all. The mirrors return to their original obsidian silence, reflecting only the dim light of the forest, as though nothing extraordinary had ever happened. Yet the sense of unease lingers. Do the celestial mirrors of Leloria show us what was, or what could have been? For those who have gazed into them, the line between reflection and revelation remains forever blurred. Each dawn leaves an echo unanswered, a memory half remembered, slipping slowly from consciousness. The jungle holds its breath. The mirrors wait in silence. Time does not pass. It waits. The year was 1423 when the maps told a story no longer visible to cartographers. In the ancient region of what is now southern Greece, nestled between rugged mountains and the restless sea, there once lay a grand royal tomb, a structure of majestic scale and unparalleled craftsmanship, known simply as the Tomb of Erythros. It was not a tomb remembered for its beauty or its splendor, but for the power and mystery that seemed to pulse around it, as if the very air conspired to guard its secret. The tomb had been recorded on navigational charts and in the meticulous journals of scholars, travelers, and even kings. Its existence was accepted, taken for granted, until one morning when it vanished. Maps drawn just the day before showed its precise location, etched in ink with meticulous care. By sunset, the landscape was empty. No trace of the tomb remained, no ruins, no mound, no fissure in the earth. It was as though it had been erased by some deliberate act. The royal line of Erythros, ancient and powerful, was already fading from history by that time, their records scattered and incomplete. Few knew the true identity of the tomb's occupant, a king or priest perhaps, shrouded in secrets so profound that posterity refused to recall. In the centuries that followed, the disappearance of the tomb became legend, a mystery that drew the curious and the foolish alike. Scholars debated endlessly. Some believed it was a case of deliberate concealment, perhaps to shield unspeakable knowledge. Others argued that a violent cataclysm, a great earthquake, a flood, or a volcanic eruption had obliterated the structure and buried it beneath tons of rock and earth, erasing its presence from the world. Local folklore, however, tells a far stranger tale. According to surviving accounts, the tomb did not merely vanish by accident. Ancient rumors spoke of a curse placed upon the resting place of Erythros. It was said that any who attempted to approach the site during the night of its disappearance saw the tomb fade before their eyes, walls dissolving like mist, engraved stone vanishing into air, and pathways crumbling into nothingness. Some witnesses claimed that the ground itself seemed to recoil, as though alive, preventing further approach. Others spoke of a disorienting sensation, as though time itself began to slip and fragment around them. In a letter dated 1467, written by a monk named Father Hieronymus of Thessaloniki, the following chilling passage appeared. I beheld the tomb's threshold, its stones etched in crimson and gold, adorned with carvings unlike any I have seen before. But as my steps drew closer, the very air between us seemed to tremble, and the tomb, so real in memory, began to dissolve, its form becoming less substantial than a dream upon waking. I dare not return. The most tantalizing piece of evidence came centuries later, when a scholar named Anastasia Varelli uncovered an ancient scroll in the monastery archives. The manuscript was old, brittle, and written in a strange dialect, only partially translatable. Yet one passage stood out with haunting clarity. The tomb of Erythros holds not flesh nor bone, but a reflection of the forgotten. It is not built of stone, but of thought, woven into the fabric of the land. Approach, and the earth will remember. Withdraw, and all that is seen shall vanish. This enigmatic description suggested something entirely beyond conventional understanding. The tomb did not exist in a fixed state, but in flux, tied to memory itself. It may have been designed to appear only to those it chose, or only when the universe permitted. Anastasia wrote in her journal, perhaps the tomb was never intended as a burial place. Rather, it was a monument to lost knowledge, a vessel containing something far older than any king or priest. What lies within may not be a body, but a consciousness, or a record of events so profound they cannot be preserved in mere stone. In one of the final entries, she recorded a personal confession. I fear I now understand the truth. The tomb does not disappear from sight. It disappears from reality itself, as though the very act of knowing it is forbidden. And yet, the more I try to forget, the more I feel it linger. Over the centuries, many have tried to locate the tomb of Erythros. Expeditions, scientific surveys, and even occultists have scoured the region, armed with modern technology and ancient incantations alike. But every attempt has ended the same way, in failure. Ground-penetrating radar reveals only ordinary rock and soil. Satellite imagery shows nothing out of place. No archaeological dig uncovers so much as a fragment of the tomb's foundation. And yet, strange phenomena persist. Occasional reports surface, travelers claiming to have glimpsed a faint silhouette of the tomb under eclipsed light, or heard whispers speaking in a language that seemed to pulse like ancient machinery. Some whisper that the tomb exists outside of time, appearing briefly when the universe itself allows. Others believe it was never built at all, but is instead a vast illusion, an elaborate trick of nature, or perhaps a sentient safeguard, designed to prevent its secrets from spreading. A controversial theory, championed by fringe researchers, suggests that the tomb is an experiment in psychogeography, a place that exists only in the mind, manifesting where collective belief converges. Dr. Varelli herself concluded, in a final, unpublished note, "Perhaps the tomb of Erythros is a mirror of our own fear and curiosity, a monument to the unknown we dare not confront. It vanishes because we are not meant to remember." Today, the region of southern Greece remains quiet, shrouded in mist and ancient olive groves. The mountain winds carry soft echoes of forgotten languages, as though they alone remember the tomb's precise location. Occasionally, scholars and adventurers pass through, scanning the landscape with instruments and hope. But nothing materializes. The jungle remains indifferent, the rocks immovable, and the earth unyielding. The most haunting aspect of the tomb of Erythros is not that it vanished, but that its absence seems intentional. The air around the vanished site holds a stillness far beyond the natural, a profound, almost sacred silence, as though the land itself has sworn an oath of secrecy. For those who have sought the tomb and failed, a single question endures, softly echoing in the deepest corners of the mind. Did they ever truly leave? Or are they now part of the tomb's eternal enigma, their memories woven into its shifting, impossible existence? The wind whispers, indifferent and ancient. The mountains watch, silent and eternal. And somewhere, beyond the veil of memory and matter, the tomb of Erythros waits. The polar ice is a vast and silent desert, an endless white expanse where time itself seems to stall. Wind-swept and merciless, the landscape stretches beyond sight, freezing the world into near-perfect stillness. Beneath this layer of frozen nothingness, where ancient glaciers press against secrets long buried, lies a mystery as profound as it is elusive. In 1963, a Soviet research team stationed near the Linthar ice shelf made a discovery that would baffle science for generations. While conducting routine subsurface scans using early ground-penetrating radar, they detected an anomaly, an object of regular geometry buried deep beneath the ice. At first, they thought it was a natural formation, a rare mineral deposit perhaps, or a subterranean cavity. But as they refined their scans, the shape emerged unmistakably. A pyramid. Not just any pyramid, but one of perfect crystalline clarity. Its angles were precise, its surfaces smooth beyond measurement. No fractures, no seams, just pure translucent crystal, glimmering faintly under the harsh glare of their instruments. Attempts to drill through the ice to reach the structure met inexplicable resistance. Conventional drills, designed to pierce kilometers of ice, stalled or broke apart. The material refused to yield. It was not ice. It was not rock. It was something entirely other. The first photograph of the anomaly, grainy and black and white, circulated in hushed scientific circles before vanishing entirely. The official report declared it an artifact of nature, a geological aberration, an unexplained ice formation. But a few researchers whispered otherwise. Dr. Anton Petrovich, lead scientist on the expedition, kept a private journal that would only surface decades later. In it, he wrote, "The pyramid stands beneath a layer of ice more ancient than any known record. Its surfaces reflect not the light of our instruments, but something else. Something deeper. We measured temperature variances around it, expecting fluctuation as one would in any natural material. Instead, the readings were constant, perfectly stable, as though it existed outside of time's decay. Other readings only deepened the mystery. Electromagnetic sensors detected faint energy fields around the structure, undulating softly like the pulse of a heartbeat. Radiation measurements showed nothing. No contamination. No signal traceable to known physics. Despite repeated attempts over the decades, neither drilling nor melting provided the slightest inroad. The debate rages on, even now. Some geologists maintain that the pyramid is a naturally occurring phenomenon, an extraordinary and isolated formation of crystalline ice shaped by unknown glacial pressures over millennia. They argue that the extreme conditions of the polar environment might cause ice to arrange itself in geometric regularity under perfect circumstances. Yet others, particularly those on the fringe of scientific inquiry, insist that such symmetry and material stability could not be the result of nature alone. One of the most vocal proponents of the artificial origin theory was Professor Ingrid Volkova, a physicist specializing in anomalous structures. She argued that no known geological process could account for the pyramid's perfect angles and impossibly low thermal variance. In her published thesis, she wrote, "The object is constructed with a precision and stability that suggests an intelligence far beyond primitive understanding. Its material composition remains unidentified despite exhaustive spectrographic analysis. We are left to conclude that it was created intentionally for purposes we are not yet equipped to understand." Further deepening the mystery, remote thermographic studies revealed that the interior of the pyramid maintains an absolute uniformity in temperature, exactly 273.15 degrees, matching absolute zero, not warmer, not colder. Perfect stability in a place where even the harshest Antarctic temperatures fluctuate wildly. If the crystal pyramid of Linthar was indeed artificial, the question arose, what purpose could such perfect design serve in a place so inhospitable and remote? Theories abounded, drifting further from empirical science into the realm of speculation. Some posited that the pyramid was a relic of an ancient lost civilization, a monument from an epoch before recorded history, built when the earth was young and knowledge was unbound by modern limitations. Others suggested it was not terrestrial at all. The pyramid could be extraterrestrial in origin, a beacon or archive left by advanced visitors who passed through long before humans even walked upright. But the most unsettling hypothesis came from an anonymous research group known as the Linthar Collective, whose existence was never officially confirmed. In their only published paper, the group proposed, "The pyramid is not a monument, but a mechanism. Its perfect stability and crystalline structure suggest an intent to observe, record, or perhaps contain. It serves no function for habitation or ritual. Instead, it holds an active purpose, embedded in a dimension where time and space are malleable. The structure itself is the purpose." Dr. Petrovich's journal corroborated this unsettling notion. In his final entry, written shortly before his disappearance, he pondered, what if this pyramid is not designed to reflect light or hold knowledge, but to anchor something far more profound? An idea, a thought, an ancient will. Despite the layers of ice and centuries of snow, the crystal pyramid remains undisturbed, silent, unmoving, and impossibly stable. Every attempt to breach its surface, every theory proposed, only deepens the enigma. No material has been identified that matches the pyramid's composition. No technological method exists to explain its resistance to drilling or scanning. Scientists who approach too closely often report strange sensations, a pervasive quiet unlike any natural silence, a heavy sensation of presence that seems neither welcoming nor hostile. Some speak of fleeting whispers, indistinct and distant, as though the structure itself murmurs in a language forgotten. Occasionally, faint images have been reported inside the pyramid's surface, shadows of landscapes not of Earth, geometries that shift subtly, and fractal patterns that defy Euclidean logic. These images do not reflect the surroundings. They seem to exist independently, like memories frozen in crystal. As the polar wind sweeps across the barren ice fields of Linthar, the crystal pyramid remains perfectly still. No light penetrates its depths, no energy leaks from within. It is untouched by time, unyielding to entropy. And yet, the silence itself feels deliberate, as though it were designed to conceal more than just material. Is the pyramid a monument, a mechanism, a memory? Or is it something far older, a beacon waiting to be understood, an archive preserving a truth too dangerous to reveal? Each passing year deepens the mystery. Each expedition ends in frustration. Each report fades like a half-remembered dream. Only the wind knows the answer, carrying the faintest echo of that crystalline heartbeat across the endless ice. And in the stillness of the polar night, the pyramid waits, perfect, unyielding, silent. There are places in the world where the ordinary ceases to hold dominion, where nature itself seems to speak in riddles. The Belvorne Plateau is one such place, a windswept expanse of grass and rock, perched high above the rolling hills of northern Europe. Few who traverse its remote terrain speak of it often, and fewer still linger long. A sense of quiet unease hangs in the air, as though the land holds its breath, waiting. At the heart of Belvorne lies a formation of stones unlike any other. A ring of massive, weathered monoliths stands arranged with geometric precision, their surfaces rough yet worn smooth in places, their shapes irregular but balanced. These are the singing stones of Belvorne. When the wind moves across the plateau, something extraordinary happens. A low, harmonic tone emerges, soft, almost imperceptible at first, as though carried from some ancient time. Then another note joins the first, rising and falling in perfect resonance. The stones seem to sing together, a slow, mournful melody echoing across the vast emptiness. The sound is not constant. It appears only when the wind's velocity and direction match specific parameters, as though the stones respond to unseen, ancient rhythms. Scientists and musicians alike have visited the site, each recording the phenomenon with a mixture of wonder and bafflement. Dr. Edmund van Dyck, a physicist who studied acoustic anomalies, wrote in his field notes after his first encounter, "The harmonics produced by the singing stones are unlike any naturally occurring phenomenon I have encountered. The tones resonate in perfect intervals, each vibration precise, sustained longer than expected, as if following a deliberate composition. No known geological process could account for such systematic sound production. The tones are eerily beautiful, shifting from deep, resonant bass to high, crystalline pitches. To some, the melody evokes an unsettling sense of nostalgia, as if the stones recall a time lost to memory. The debate surrounding the singing stones is far from settled. One school of thought insists they are a natural oddity, a result of unique wind patterns and the peculiar shapes of the stones. Perhaps centuries of erosion shape the formations in such a way that air passing through creates these haunting tones, a rare convergence of physics and chance. Others argue the formation is an ancient instrument, deliberately constructed by a long-lost civilization whose knowledge of acoustics far exceeded our own. Archaeologists point to similar megalithic sites, like Stonehenge, suggesting that ancient peoples used such structures not merely for ritual, but as precise acoustic devices. But the most compelling and unsettling hypothesis comes from a nearly forgotten scholar, Professor Alaric Renfield, an eccentric linguist and cryptographer who vanished in the early 20th century. In his obscure treatise, The Songs of Stone, Renfield claimed the stones do more than produce harmonic tones. He asserted they play an ancient melody that foretells events. According to Renfield, the tone patterns shift subtly over time, changes imperceptible to most, but detectable to those who listen closely. He posited that the variations correspond to significant happenings in history: births, deaths, wars, the rise and fall of kings. Renfield's theory remains controversial, dismissed by mainstream academia as fanciful speculation. But a small group of independent researchers continues to study the phenomenon, attempting to decode the patterns. One such researcher, Margaret Lindholm, spent years recording the sounds at different times of day, across seasons. In her private journal, she wrote, "At first, the sounds seemed random, varying in intensity, pitch, and rhythm as the wind changed. But after hundreds of hours of observation, a pattern began to emerge. The intervals between tones repeat with a regularity that is statistically improbable. Certain sequences recur, matching the dates of significant historical events we already know: the birth of Charlemagne, the fall of Constantinople, the eruption of Vesuvius." Margaret went further, proposing that the stones were a form of acoustic encoding, a way to record history not in ink or stone, but in sound itself. She argued that the builders of the formation had intended the stones to sing the memory of the world, leaving behind a melody only the patient could decipher. Her final, unpublished note trembled with the weight of revelation. What if sound is not merely a medium of expression, but of preservation? That the ancient ones, unable to preserve knowledge in fragile manuscripts, instead encoded it in resonance, a history written in tones that ripple eternally through time. Despite the passion and precision of researchers like Margaret Lindholm, the melody remains undeciphered. Machines designed to analyze sound patterns have returned only inconclusive results. The intervals shift slightly over the course of days, as if responding not to any external timeline, but to some internal logic of their own. Occasionally, curious visitors report uncanny experiences. A photographer described seeing faint, ghostly images in the stone surfaces when the tones rose to their most harmonious peak. Visions of long-forgotten faces, spectral landscapes, and abstract symbols that fade the moment they are observed directly. A local elder, Father Gavrilo, once whispered during an interview, "The stones sing of things man is not meant to know. Their melody is the memory of the earth itself, remembering what we have forgotten, or perhaps what we must forget." No one knows whether the melody is active communication, a passive record, or something far stranger, a living language that transcends meaning. Some theorists suggest that the stones themselves are conscious, a sentient artifact recording not events, but emotions, the collective grief, triumph, and despair of humanity encoded in perpetual tone. As the wind moves across the Belvorne Plateau, the stones sing. The melody plays on, unchanged and eternal. It is neither fully present nor entirely absent. It lingers on the edge of perception, a soft, haunting pulse that calls to something deep within the mind, stirring half-formed memories, ancient longings. Each visitor leaves with a different impression: wonder, dread, nostalgia, or perhaps a vague sense of knowing they glimpsed something they were never meant to understand. No definitive interpretation exists. No conclusive key has been found. The stones neither confirm nor deny their purpose. And so the song continues, a testament to a history too vast to capture in words, a record written not in ink, but in the resonance of air and stone. An echo, faint but persistent, that drifts through time, carrying the secrets of an age long vanished. The plateau waits, the wind stirs, and the stones sing on. The Sahara Desert stretches across the horizon in waves of burning gold, an endless sea of sand where the sun reigns unchallenged. To most, it is a place of desolation, harsh, unforgiving, and void of life. Yet beneath its shifting dunes lies a secret, one that refuses to remain buried. In 2016, satellite imagery captured by advanced radar scans began revealing something remarkable: the faint outline of a vast city concealed under thousands of years of desert sands. The images were subtle at first, a series of straight lines, geometric angles faintly etched beneath the dunes, almost invisible to the naked eye. But as the scans continued, a sprawling network of streets, plazas, and monumental structures began to emerge. The phenomenon was unprecedented. Archaeologists and historians, initially skeptical, scrambled to explain it. Some insisted it was merely an artifact of image processing, an optical illusion born from the interplay of shifting sand and atmospheric interference. Others speculated about ancient riverbeds or old caravan paths slowly eroded by time. But none of these explanations accounted for the sheer scale and precision of the layout. The outline of the city was vast, larger than ancient Babylon, sprawling across several square kilometers. Its roads formed regular grids. Its buildings appeared planned, constructed, and deliberate. At its center stood what seemed to be a massive ziggurat or temple, unmistakably man-made, though the material composition remained a mystery. Dr. Yasmin El-Mahdi, an archaeologist specializing in ancient African civilizations, led an expedition to the coordinates, hoping to uncover more than shadows beneath the sand. Her team braved the Sahara's blistering heat and unpredictable sandstorms, equipped with ground-penetrating radar and seismic detectors. What they found was perplexing. rather than solid ruins. Their instruments registered anomalous density fluctuations, hollow spaces buried beneath shifting layers of sand, yet with no identifiable construction material detected. No stone foundations, no ceramics, nothing resembling human tools or artifacts. In one of her journals, Dr. El-Mahdi recorded, "The deeper we probe, the less we seem to find, yet the outlines remain undeniable. There is a pattern here, a structure meticulously planned, but it is as if the city is designed to hide itself, not merely in sand, but from reality itself." Theories began to circulate like desert wind, growing more fantastical with every passing year. Some proposed that this was a lost civilization predating recorded history, an advanced society, now utterly forgotten, whose technology and knowledge vanished without trace. They argued that rising desertification and shifting climates buried the city deliberately,